Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise with your leave to make two statements. The first one is by way of a report on the 30th Heads of Government meeting of CARICOM, which took place in Grenada on the 4th to the 6th of July. On that occasion of the regular meeting of the conference head, we had Dr. the Honorable Keith Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada, assuming the chairmanship of conference, and he succeeded the President of the Republic of Guyana, His Excellency David Granger. The conference welcomed two new heads, the Right Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, the new Prime Minister of the Bahamas, and His Excellency Jovenel Moïse, President of the Republic of Haiti, both of whom were elected since our last intercessional meeting. I was pleased to be among colleagues' heads in what was considered to be one of the most productive meetings in recent times. And we were able to address some key regional and international issues which are of significance to us as a community and which will impact upon our domestic affairs. The issues included matters of security, health, human resource development, the CSME, trade, and other matters. In my capacity as lead head in the quasi-CARICOM cabinet with responsibility for human resource development, health, and HIV, I presented on agenda item 12, the Port of Spain Declaration Plus 10, uniting to stop the epidemic of non-communicable diseases, later referred to as NCDs. Our regional heads demonstrated leadership when about 10 years ago in 2007 in Port of Spain, Trinidad, they met to discuss the way forward to reduce the threat of NCDs and the CARICOM population. This was an unprecedented meeting and was the launching pad for NCDs to become a feature on the UN agenda. Indeed, in 2011, for the first time, the United Nations mobilized a high-level meeting on non-communicable diseases, making NCDs a subject for international attention and action. In 2018, the United Nations will convene another high-level meeting on NCDs, and we are looking forward to participate fully in that meeting. This year, the region commemorates the 10th anniversary of the Port of Spain Declaration, and this presents an opportunity for us to assess our progress since the historic meeting in 2007. I had the opportunity to present a 2016 study on the economic dimensions of NCDs as it relates to Trinidad and Tobago. I'm advised that a similar study has been done with respect to Barbados and Jamaica. The study estimated that 5% of its gross domestic product is being lost by the impact of preventable diabetes, hypertension, and cancer. Half of that 5% is direct medical care costs, and the other half is in loss of productivity. If we were to examine the growth pattern of Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean region as a whole over the last 10 or so years, you would not find that they would have grown by 5%. Therefore, when in fact 5% of the economy is being impacted negatively with respect to NCDs, this is a major cause for concern. The costs here are significant and they are unsustainable for any country. Importantly, these diseases are preventable impediments to growth. My presentation indicated the varying levels of the implementation of the World Health Organization global targets and highlighted the vast amount of work that yet needs to be done by a majority of countries within CARICOM. And if we do not act soonest, we are likely to lose the leadership role which we played way back in 2007. In order to redeem the times, there are urgent actions that must be taken by member states to curb the increasing threat to the well-being and wellness of our citizens. 4 risk factors have been identified if we are to combat the threat of NCDs. 1, reducing the incidence and the prevalence of unhealthy diets. These are diets marked by high input of sugary products, fatty foods, etc. We need to reduce the incidence and prevalence of physical inactivity. We need to reduce tobacco use. And the Prime Minister of Jamaica asks us to add that we need to reduce marijuana use. And fourthly, we need to reduce the harmful use of alcohol and drugs in our societies. In many CARICOM member states, the level of obesity is more than 30% among our nation's children, particularly those in primary and secondary schools. Of particular concern is the obesity in our girls. Several recommendations have been adopted to reduce child obesity, including inter alia, implementing tax measures and beverages and other manufactured food aimed at reducing their sugary content. 2, banning the predatory marketing of sugar-sweetened beverages and other unhealthy beverages or food within the precincts of our Caribbean school. As we target the young people, we are targeting the generation after us. And the advice is that we have to begin in our schools, in our school meals programs throughout the region, to look at what we are offering to our young people, which may add to their predilection for sweet and salty products. Which may mean, of course, that we have to cut out a number of things we are long accustomed to add to the menu of the offerings within our schools, like corn curls and a lot of the processed foods, and to look for fresh fruits and other local items that are more in terms of their natural sugar additives rather than the addition of sugar to processing. We also asked to support the introduction of compulsory standards for salt and trans fats in our foods. And we must commit to enhance public education on the dangers of high sugar and salt in our food. With regard to tobacco use, we have been advised that smoking has the greatest impact on all NCDs taken collectively. The scientific advice is that of the 4 risk factors: unhealthy diet, inactivity, physical inactivity, harmful use of alcohol and drugs, and the reducing tobacco use, the area which represents the lowest hanging fruit would be the control of tobacco usage. Tobacco use, then, are the complication across the train of risk factors in relation to NCDs. And so heads have agreed to ban smoking in public places and to declare CARICOM a region free of tobacco smoke by 2022. We should advise that this target date of banning the use of tobacco in public places like our restaurants, our schools, our hospitals, and any other public place is also going to be adopted as part of the broader hemispheric agenda at the level of PAHO. So Latin America and the Caribbean will be enjoined. The original date that had been put forward for the CARICOM region to achieve this tobacco-free zone status was 2025. But having regard to the larger hemispheric agenda and time frame, it has been revised to 2022. This means that sometime between now and then, we will be coming to the Parliament to look at legislation in this regard. We have invited our CMO to look closely at the Caribbean report and to advise the Ministry of Health and by extension, the Cabinet on the initiatives on which we could embark upon now. Because of the serious consequences of NCDs for our region as a whole, I have proposed that in 2018 there be a special meeting of Ministers of Finance and Planning to address the economic implications of NCDs and to formulate a response to tackling this issue. On the issue of security, we examine some new initiatives to combat transnational and organized crime. We discussed the development of a CARICOM counter-terrorism strategy and border security projects and programs, including the current expansion of the APIS system and the establishment of an advanced cargo information systems. Impacts, of course, made a very informative and useful presentations on a range of security threats, given their nature being security-based. I'm not at liberty to disclose to the public, at least at this time. I had the honor to introduce our Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Education in his capacity as Chair of the Commission on Human Resource Development to present the HRD Human Resource Development 2030 strategy. The strategy sets out actions for basic education from early childhood through secondary, tertiary, and lifelong learning, which will enable our citizens to reach their full potential for their personal benefit and that of their families, their communities, their country, and of course the CARICOM region. The conference endorsed that strategy and committed to its implementation. As we speak about that, the Ministry of Education here is refining its own education action plan, and it draws upon the perspectives of regional work and international policy prescription. The matter of Venezuela, not surprisingly, was elaborated on at length, and in the end, a statement was issued calling for the adherence to the rule of law, democracy, and human rights. What was significant, though, was the offer of CARICOM to facilitate dialogue among contending parties in Venezuela. So, Speaker, I had the opportunity during the margins of these meetings to pursue productive bilateral discussions with the Foreign Minister of Venezuela, Samuel Moncada, and the Undersecretary of State, Thomas Shannon, of the U.S. government, of course. I urge in that meeting with the U.S. high-level officials that we must do more to assist in the preventing the legal entry of guns and ammunition in our country and in the Caribbean region. The data presented by impacts in the caucus of heads would reflect that 95% of all guns and ammunition that enter into the Caribbean can be traced back to the United States of America. And so we need to have greater cooperation with them. Although in fact constitutionally the United States is a nation that accepts the rights of persons to bear arms, and that had provided in discussion in the past some difficulty in terms of what the federal government there was prepared to do on this matter. In addition to that particular sensitive matter of security, we discussed the matter of the FinCEN advisory of May 2014, which was imposed on our beloved country by the U.S. Treasury Department. The report of FinCEN in the time indicated that it had become necessary for the U.S. government to take that last resort effort because the U.S. government had lost confidence in the Douglas regime. Mr. Speaker, I must place on record the excellent support that I received at this meeting by the Deputy Prime Minister and the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kebas, and the Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Andrew Skerrit.
Stay up to date with news, programs, and activities of the government with SKNIS. Like us on Facebook. Listen to us on SoundCloud. Follow us on Twitter. And watch our videos on YouTube. Connect with us today. SKNIS, St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service.